Right guys, we have more details regarding the Mac Pro refresh and how it might be a disappointing update, so let's delve into it. Right, so recently Gurman gave us a ton of bad news regarding the Mac Pro, including the fact there would be no redesign, there would be no M2 Extreme chip, and also there might not be many user upgradable features with this new machine. And while Gurman now doubles down on that last point and says the GPU's also not going to be upgradable, which is a major disappointment because many of us were expecting external GPU support for the Apple Silicon Mac Pro since Apple's current GPUs are good, but still lag behind dedicated GPUs the Mac Pro used to have. And so many of us were expecting the new Mac Pro to support this, but that's not the case. Now RAM is also not going to be upgradable, but this I do understand because unified memory is a key component of the Apple Silicon experience. But yeah, this means storage is going to be the only thing you can expand with the Mac Pro, and that's going to be pretty odd, considering the old model had a modular design, and many professionals do want this. And yeah, considering that this should be the exact same design as the last version, this machine's going to be pretty empty inside. We know the size of the current Mac Pro's overkill for the M2 Ultra because Apple put the M1 Ultra in the much smaller Mac Studios, so of course a lot of space inside is going to be wasted, and that's why I'm pretty confused and disappointed about this upgrade. Like honestly, I think Apple's just better off killing the Mac Pro altogether and of course having the Mac Studio as the highest end Mac in the range and updating that with the M2 Ultra because this machine's gonna lack a lot of features those high-end professionals want, and so why give us a mediocre refresh? They might as well please the demographic for the Mac Studio and give it a small spec refresh. And yeah, honestly guys, I'm not sure if the Mac Studio and the Mac Pro is going to coexist in the range together because these will essentially have the same performance, except I'm assuming the Mac Pro is going to be a lot more expensive and the only upgrade is going to be storage expandability, but is that enough? I'm not sure guys, and yeah, I'm just confused by this. And yes, I know Gurman says there could be additional cooling that of course gives you better performance with the Mac Pro, but to be honest, I don't think that's going to make a massive difference. Ultimately, there's no extreme chip in this, and so yes, I still think Apple should kill off the Mac Pro and give us a refresh to the Mac Studio instead. Since like I've been saying, those high-end consumers wanting the Mac Pro are not going to be happy with this, since the high-end professionals buying the existing Mac Pros might need tons of RAM, and so that's why of course you can configure the Intel Mac Pro with 1.5 terabytes of it, whereas that's not going to be the case with the M2 Ultra. I'm assuming it's going to max out at around 192 gigs of RAM, which yes is a lot, and Apple Silicon obviously is going to be more efficient with the RAM, but ultimately having much more physical RAM is important, and this Mac Pro is not going to offer that. So yes, Apple, please don't bother with this refresh. Wait for the M3 generation of chips and the 3nm process that should give us much better performance, then sort out expandability with the machine, and then release it for the pros. And that target demographic anyways would be disappointed with this mediocre refresh. Anyways, let's delve into your questions. So eBoy Mario says, I remember back in 2020 there were rumors regarding the 12-inch MacBook becoming the first Apple Silicon Mac. And yes, I remember this as well. In fact, I believe I covered this back in mid-2020, but yes, I still think this would have been the perfect Mac to launch M1 with because it would perfectly demonstrate how efficient M1 is, since Apple can say that, hey, because of Intel, the 12-inch MacBook sucked, but now look at it with the M1 chip, it's so much better now, and that's due to Apple Silicon. So yes, I think it was a mistake to not launch this. I think there's a market for this, and many of us want that 12-inch form factor. So Mike says, I would typically purchase an iPhone Pro model, but if next year's Pro Max / Ultra model gets the periscope zoom lens and the titanium finish, I may consider going for the larger model, especially if it weighs just as much or less than the regular Pro model. And this is exactly what Apple wants. They're going to upsell consumers to the Ultra with the exclusive features, and that's going to increase Apple's average selling price for iPhones. And so yes, I'm sure many people are going to do the same and go for the Ultra instead when they usually get the regular Pro. And I think the titanium chassis is going to be the big upgrade that's going to sway regular Pro consumers, because I know many have complained about the weight of the Pro Max. And so if Apple can drastically reduce that, I think most regular Pro users will put up with the bigger size for the additional features. So at T Green says, I have the 12-inch MacBook with the Core i7 16 gigs in perfect condition. I'm a light user. As an illustrator, iPad is my main device. I love this MacBook. Still works very fast and snappy. Was too expensive at launch, but I'm never selling it, so it doesn't matter. And yes, I was also a fan of the 12-inch MacBook. I think it had a ton of potential because the design was ahead of its time, it's portable, it's light, it basically was perfect apart from the awful Intel chips. And while I'm glad that you were happy with the performance, I know many weren't, especially for the high price. And yeah, Intel kinda under-delivered on their promises, which did ruin the potential of this machine. However, this light, thin, fanless form factor is now perfect in the era of Apple Silicon, because Apple Silicon's super efficient, it gives you incredible performance, and so yeah, just putting an M1 in this would make this one of the best entry-level laptops, and I'm hoping that Apple does revive it. So we have a comment saying that thumbnail makes the iPhone camera bump look pretty ugly, but in a cool retro style. Aside from that, this is an iPhone 14s, right? Even though I'll still be getting it. And while, like I said in the actual reply to this comment, I would basically say for the last few years we have been seeing S upgrades every single year, and the days of major iPhone upgrades on a yearly basis is basically over. And it's not just Apple, every manufacturer is facing this. Upgrades are becoming minor because the market has matured, and for the most part, most already have devices that are near perfect for their use. And so yes, from now on do expect S upgrades to be the de facto standards. Now regarding the thumbnail, this is the design in question, and yeah, it's a pretty interesting camera bump. It actually resembles the Xiaomi 12, and yeah, honestly, I like it, it looks pretty good. To be honest, at the end of the day, it's just cameras on the back of the device, but yes, I would be fine with this. I personally think this looks nice. So Evan Rogers says, Apple's due for a glass improvement this year. They've kept the same ceramic shields for 3 generations. Corning has better material science now versus 3 years ago. Now this is regarding my comment that Apple can't give us a curved display on the front because ceramic shield requires the display to be completely flat. And yes, Evan makes a good point. There is a chance that Apple just gives us ceramic shield Gen 2 that's made for curved glass. But personally, I'm still hoping we see a flat display because, as I've said, this works better with screen protectors. But guys, tell me your thoughts on this in the comments. Anyways, thank you for watching guys, make sure to like and subscribe for the latest Apple news and rumours, and on that note, I'll see you guys in the next one.